started. Welcome to the City of Independence Planning Commission meeting for January 14th. If you would please join me and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, just a few housekeeping. Please make sure that your telephone ringers are off. And for those that wish to speak tonight, this may be your first time of attending a Planning Commission meeting. So because there are quite a few in the room tonight, we are going to limit the amount of time that each person that wants to speak to 2 minutes. Please make sure that you address all your comments to me, the chair, and we will, just to expedite things, administer an oath. So if you're in the galley and you think you'd like to speak, you plan to speak, you might be prompted to speak, we'd like you to go ahead and take a pledge tonight. So if you could stand and raise your right hand. All right, do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth to this commission tonight? If so, please answer, I do. I do. Thank you very much. You can be seated. All right, could we please begin with roll call?
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Here.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Here.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Present.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Present.
Commissioner Torres.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Chairman Wiley.
Here. All right. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I second.
All right, we have a second from Commissioner Young. All right, any questions, conversation, discussion? Seeing none, would you take a vote?
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Chairman Wiley.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. We also have a case that is to be continued. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
That's case number 25-100-03.
Yes, it is.
So I'll make sure to put it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, seeing no discussion, would you take a roll?
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Chair Wiley.
Yes. And the case has been continued to January 28th. All right, we are going to move forward with our cases for tonight. Case number 2510001, rezoning at 2000 North Elsie Smith Road. Staff, we'd love to hear your report.
Okay. So we're looking at the vicinity map for case 25-100-01, Crohn's rezoning. The applicant Derek Crohn's to rezone from RA, which is residential agriculture, to R4, that's single-family residential, low density. And we'll begin by looking at the notification map. So the property is the line, or the light blue line, and then the purple circle surrounding it indicates all the properties within 185 feet. that got notification of tonight's hearing. So this slide shows the zoning history. So if you look at the map with the colors there, with commercial zoning on the north, and then residential agriculture around the rest of the properties. So as you can see on the north, the C1 and C2 have a single-family home and vacant land. South of the property is mostly just cultivated farmland. To the east, we have some rural residences, and to the west, more cultivated farmland. So this is an aerial photograph of the property, aerial overhead. Some of the characteristics of the property. Well, R4 zoning allows, or characteristics of the request as well. R4 zoning allows for the existing house and an additional single-family home on the 2 lots that will be created by a new minor subdivision that the applicant is applying for administratively. R4 zoning allows for 75 feet of frontage rather than 250 that's required for RA zoning. And the reason for that is the bottom characteristic, which I'll get to momentarily. Lot 2AA will be 3 acres in size, and Lot 2AB will be 7.45 acres in size. Both lots will be sufficient in area to provide septic systems. They have the minimum 3 acres. Of course, utilities are already present there in the right-of-way, and the area is not in any kind of federal floodplain or within our city designated buffer zone areas. And there are no CIP improvements planned for this area. So, as I mentioned a moment ago, if this zoning is denied, the property owner would not be able to sell the western portion of the property, given that MoDOT prohibits access to US 24 highway, which is the reason for the need for 75 feet of frontage, or to be able to reduce the frontage requirement to 75 feet. So this is that minor subdivision, and it explains why that 75 feet is needed, that dog leg that will provide the driveway access out to L.C. Smith Road. So this is the house that's currently on what will remain the 3-acre portion of the property. And then this is where that access point would come in to L.C. Smith, just south of there. Staff recommends approval for this rezoning, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
All right. I have one question before we move on to other commissioners' questions. Can you explain a little bit? I know it was in the notes, but some did not have time to receive those. So about RA and versus moving to R4?
Well, R4 is a sort of rural estate size, basically, zoning. It's larger than our typical urban zoning, the R6, that would be in most, formal subdivisions. R4, the purpose for going down to R4, of course, is, the incredible frontage that's required, under the RA requirement, 240 feet. And so, which is meant to be a rural, very low density agricultural density, and that's why those frontages are so big. And R4 is more like a rural, estate type thing, and that's why They're only about 75 feet wide.
Okay, thank you very much. Other commissioners, do we have any questions for the staff? Seeing none, I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward. Sir, would you please state your name and your address?
Derek Cronus, 2000 North
Go
Elsie
ahead,
Smith.
move the microphone just up on the top of that.
Oh, up here.
Yeah. Go ahead and start over.
Derek Cronus, 2000 North Elsie Smith Road, Independence, Missouri.
All right, what would you like us to know about your request?
So the reason I'm doing this is we would like to either be able to build another home and have one of our parents move into the current house, or sell the lot to family friend or whatever to build one house. We don't plan on ever wanting to, turn it into a subdivision. We don't want that. It just, we want to either build one house or just separate it into two lots just for the convenience of it. So
Okay, anything else you want us to know?
I believe that's it.
Okay, all right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Chair,
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
have you already got this approved for subdivision through the county or through the city for subdivision? Right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if he's already got approved or not.
Okay, well, the minor subdivisions approval is going to be dependent upon the
The
rezoning,
rezoning.
because you can have an RA lot that only has 75 feet of frontage, so.
Are we doing that tonight too then, or? Minor subdivision?
No, that's done administratively by the department.
Okay, thank you.
Right, any other questions? Right, you can go ahead and have a seat for now, but we would most likely need to call you back up. This would be the portion, if there's anyone in the galley that would like to speak in opposition of this case, please stand. Anybody that'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, go ahead and come up, state your name and your address, please. Oh gosh, are you okay? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. You'll watch the clock for me?
Okay, first things first.
2 minutes. Yeah, at the beginning. Yeah, at the beginning of the discussion this evening. Because I can do that.
My name is Dawn Zacco. My address is 1512 North Elsie Smith Road. I've lived out there for 32 years now. And I first want to ask, I might go a little bit longer than 2 minutes. I hope you'll appease me there. From the group here, those of us that don't want to speak, if I could just have hands of those that would be in favor of this to happen, please raise your hand. And those that are opposed, could you please raise your hand up high? It might give you an idea of what you're looking at as far as individuals that are not very happy. And there were several people that were not able to because of health conditions and or meetings that they had to attend. So I'm going to start back and let you have a little bit of history about the area. It was zoned in 1978. It was annexed by the city, and at the time it was zoned as agricultural because there was vast amount of ag land out there, farm crops, animals, etc. In and around, I believe it was 1995, 96, we had an individual, a gentleman that wanted to sell part of his land, and he wanted to sell it to a developer. At that time, they were going to try to put 13 houses, 12 or 13 houses in about a 12 or 13 acre area. At the time, the city's ordinances or the zoning allowed for that. We could do it. And if you go further down the road on Elsie Smith, at the corner of Elsie Smith and Bunshoe, there, and even up close to where I am at 1512, there's a number of houses that are built on very small lots. And it was concerned about the congestion that we would have out there with the growth of that area. Plus, the infrastructure absolutely was not there. So this developer is coming in, and they've got grand designs of putting up these beautiful houses, and our neighbors were like, whoa, wait a minute, is that what we really want? And so we went before the Planning Commission, and we said, you know, this is not going to work out here. We don't have sewer. We barely have the water system out here. We don't have other amenities. We're not hardly taken care of by the city at the time. And so I worked along with some other neighbors in our neighborhood and in the agricultural neighborhood with the developer and with the mayor at the time and the city planner at the time. And we worked on developing what we would recommend to be something that would be acceptable for the City of Independence to develop this area as residential agricultural. So ag can still have its life, and people that want to go out and live in the country have larger estates. This is what we had. So there, in fact, is where you came up with, I think they finally finished it all out, all the legal stuff of it, in about 2009, but don't quote me on that. I don't know how far back all that went. So it has remained that way. We come out there, we have our 5-10 acres that we like and enjoy and have farmland, we have animals, and that's an important part of that area. That the farmers in our area, you know, they go out and they plant their fields, they spray. We understand that, you know, as individuals that live out there, we understand that. So I like Derek. Derek's a great guy. My son was raised with him. Derek bought the property knowing it was 10 acres and that he had access to Elsie Smith Road. He didn't have access to 24 Highway. So I'm presenting to you tonight for you to understand that the City of Independence has put a lot of money, I'm assuming, into a plan for 2040. Y'all know about it? Have you heard about it? It's the Independence, Imagine Independence Comprehensive Plan 2040. It's available online. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to do so, because that's what you're planning for. So let's talk about what this does and doesn't do for us out in the agricultural area that we're at. I'm going to give you recommendations and reasonings against rezoning for the RA and R4 for the 2000 North Elsie Smith Road. While the applicant's request to rezone the property for residential agriculture to single-family residential low-density R4 may seem reasonable in certain contexts, there are several considerations to concerns that warrant caution in approving this rezoning. The comprehensive plan consistency. Okay, so here's the concern. The Image Independence Comprehensive Plan 2040, your blueprint, with this area is residential agriculture uses. And the request for the R4 zoning does not align with the long-term vision set forth in this area. The reasoning against the rezoning is the area is primarily designed for agricultural and rural residential uses. And rezoning this property to R4 would deviate from the plan land use, potentially setting the precedent in the future rezoning requests that could disrupt the intended character of the neighborhood. I'm telling you, all the way up and down that road, there are people that if they were given a lot of money, they would sell their land behind them, that back side of their land. We all have enough frontage that we could say, hey, I want to sell the back part of my land. The impact on the rural character and development plan. Concern, the surrounding area consists of large lots, rural residents, agricultural fields, and open spaces. Changing the zone to R4 can introduce more urban-style development that does not fit with the current character of the neighborhood. The reasoning against the rezoning is R4 zoning would allow for higher density of residential development than the surrounding R4 zoning allows, potentially leading to smaller lots, more traffic, and a shift away from the area's rural and agricultural feel. This could distract from the neighbor's overall characters and desirability for current residents who have chosen the area for its rural atmosphere. Compatibility by a nearby zoning. Well, here's a concern. There is a C1 zoning to the north. RA zoning exists to the south, east, west, and of the property. Introducing an R4 zoning to the property surrounding the RA zoning could create an incompatible zoning transition. And I'll point out one thing in particular. R4 doesn't allow for animals, for livestock. Okay, so somebody wants to have chickens, nope, can't have it. Are they gonna be upset when somebody else has chickens in their yard? Probably so, because the person that's gonna move out to an R4 would not necessarily like that. The change in the zoning could create an awakening zone boundary and increase the likelihood of future land use conflicts, particularly with properties that are already zoned R4 and may be aligned with the higher density residential uses permit under R4. This could complicate future development and land use decisions in the area. Remember, you've got a blueprint, and you're supposed to be kind of looking towards the future for 2040. The potential for increased traffic and infrastructure strain. I will tell you that this fall, my husband and I were moving hay bales, and we were going down the road, and the side of the roads don't have curbs, and we went off the curbs, and I went into the ditch, and I hurt myself pretty significantly. So, you know, we aren't set up to have a lot of traffic on that road. And we have ag tractors, we have various things that are running up and down the road. The rezoning request could lead to an increase in residential density, which could bring more vehicles and the demand for infrastructure that is not designed to handle additional traffic in the area. The surrounding roads, including Elsie Smith Road, may not be equipped to handle the potential increase in traffic and could result in the additional residential development. Increased residential density could strain local infrastructures, including roads, water, sewage, which we don't have. We obviously have septic systems when we're out there, and especially additional developments that follow suit. The impacts on agricultural use and open space. My degree's in agriculture, and I'm telling you, people will try to change what's happening in an ag area if they come in and they are not familiar with that type of lifestyle. Rezone, or lifestyle and or living, period. Rezoning the RA to R4 could reduce the ability for the land for agricultural uses in the region, where farming and open spaces are integral in the local economy and the community character. The agricultural character of the area could be threatened if more land is rezoned for residential purposes. And remember, I said everybody up and down that street has that opportunity. We have enough space in our yard, we can make it 575-foot open, and we can open up our backyards to another house being built. Residential purposes, potentially decreasing the amount of open space and farmland available for cultivation. This may also impact the local ecosystem and the livelihoods of nearby farmers. The pressure for future rezoning requests. Approving a rezoning request could set precedent for the additional rezoning applications in the future, leading to a piecemeal transformation of the surrounding area for rural agriculture land to be more urbanized residential development. It doesn't follow the 2040 plan. If the rezoning is approved, other property owners to the vicinity may seek similar zoning changes, eroding the agricultural zoning designation to the area and leading to the cumulative shift away from the intended rural use. This could change the entire nature of the neighborhood and its character over time. Public health, safety, and welfare considerations. Rezoning to from RA to R4 could bring about changes in public health, safety, and welfare due to the denser development and greater population density. The increased density could affect the quality of life of the existing residents by creating overcrowding, increasing traffic congestion, and potentially burdening local services. Additionally, the rural setting may not be sufficient or suited to accommodate a higher density expected under R4 rural zoning, which may result in lower standard of living and an increase in public health concerns. So given the considerations outlined above that I've stated, particularly the deviation from the comprehensive plan, potential for incompatible development and impact on the rural character of the area, it is recommended that the rezoning request be denied. While the property owner may wish to sell part of the land, the potential long-term consequences for the surrounding community, infrastructure, and neighborhood characteristics should take precedence in zoning decisions. Maintaining a current RA zoning aligns better with the established planning vision for the area and preserves the rural and agricultural environment that is integral to the region's identity. Now, I'm going to put it this way. Imagine for a moment, please, this scenario. Our neighborhood is our home. We have completed our dream homes. Everything is exactly like we want it. It took money, time, effort to sit with the planner to develop the blueprint for this dream home. It took money, effort, and time for you to build, for us to build it. Okay, you're sitting in your kitchen, and your new neighbor comes in and sits at your kitchen table to have a cup of coffee. The neighbor announces that he submitted paperwork to have a toilet and a sink installed right here in your kitchen by your stove, right next to your stove. I say stove because that's your workplace. That's where, your meat and potatoes are. This is a shock at first. There's a realization that there's absolutely no plumbing and no electrical hookup in that area by the stove. In fact, to even consider doing it would be astronomical expense to you. You, of course, would tell your neighbor this modification is not acceptable and feasible because your infrastructure in your house is not able to accommodate the request. Not to mention, it would change your dream home. So now I want you to take and apply the same scenario to this rezoning request. Do you really want to put an R4 in the middle of an RA area? Can you see the picture now? I respectfully ask that you deny this request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition?
Do you mind if I go? I have to leave. So, hi. My name is Gwen Hefner, and I live at 1732 North Elsie Smith Road. This is hard for me because I actually haven't met you all, but I think you are nice people, and I totally understand where you're coming from. My perspective with this is I have been fighting Jackson County as a part-time job for the last 6 to 9 months over our land. We live on 18.5 acres. We built a house in 2023, and they moved it all, they reclassified it all as residential. Even though I know in our research the City of Independence still has it as agricultural. I have been fighting them. I finally got them to give us, we have 5 acres that are residential, and the rest they have as agricultural. I'm coming in here not knowing a lot as far as how that affects city versus county, but in my opinion, putting an R4 property in our neighborhood is opening up a can of worms so that people like myself, we've been doing the same haying practices since we bought the property. I gave them time-stamped photos and videos, and I gave them invoices from hayers. We've added livestock to the property, and they asked me, well, you're supposed to report every chicken to the county. You're supposed to all these things. So they're really coming down on us out there. I was told by the county appraiser, he said, well, ma'am, we're really trying to keep these city people from moving to the country and thinking they have ag land. This is the attitude of Jackson County. And for me, if you all make this R4, there is a very likely chance that they are going to continue to push us on. It's crazy to me that we can have animals and all these things and be told that that doesn't count as agriculture. But that's what Jackson County is telling us. And that is my fear with rezoning something in our neighborhood, is that it's just a matter of time before that's their excuse for my land not being agricultural. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak in opposition? Sir, were you sworn in?
No.
Okay, go ahead and come up here. And
Sorry, I was a few minutes late. My mom is in a rehabilitation facility, and I was waiting for somebody to get there to...
no, just you could go to the microphone. I just need you to raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth to this planning commission tonight to the best of
Yes.
your ability?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead and state your name and your address.
My name is Brian Etter. My address is 1811 North Elsie Smith Road in Independence.
What would you like us to know?
I would like to talk about the creek that is at the bottom. The property you guys are proposing that is being proposed to rezone is up toward the north end of Elsie Smith. And then if you go 2 lots away, there is what I've been told is a protected waterway down there. And to hit on what Don was talking about, the more residences that are allowed in there, the more rezoning that is done, that waterway could potentially get contaminated, because those septic tanks, you keep adding them, and if it does contaminate that waterway, it could get pretty expensive if the EPA said, now you gotta put sewers in there, because you have now contaminated that creek. So the city might wanna give that some thought. I mean, the more houses you put out there, the more of them have to have septic systems, and it just kinda compounds. So, it's probably at a turning point now, because when it rains really hard for days and days and days, just a couple of days, you can stand on our property and you can smell the septic tanks. And we are right next to the creek, and you can smell them. So, the city might want to give some thought to that. The more density you allow out there and that creek gets contaminated. Just a thought.
Okay,
And
thank you very
I am against
much.
it as well.
Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
Hi, my
If you
name's-
need to move that mic down, you can.
My name's Debbie Ruth. We live at 1721. We built in 2019, but purchased the property about 3 or 4 years before that, so we've owned it about 10 years. My husband and I built to retire out there. We researched because we wanted to pick an area that we wouldn't be crowded in. And so we chose the residential agricultural. We love the whole community, the farming, that we were part of that. And so I'm with Gwen, is we chose that purposely. And again, I haven't met them. I understand, but we did our research. We chose that, and I'm sorry that they want to build another house when they knew when they bought it, what it was zoned, and that, along with everything that Dawn and the others had said about just building more out there. We farm our land, or we have it farmed, and we're having the same fight that Gwen did. We had to prove that we farm it, even though one of the farmers it's been farmed for 20 years, and we had to fight about how much they were considering residential on our land, even though aerial views Jackson County. And so, again, changing it to the R4, we're just concerned that it's just given Jackson County another reason to say it's not really agricultural out there. So that's why I'm in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Go ahead and come forward. Were you sworn in, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Just state your name and your address, please.
Had a phone call that just came through. It always happens that way. My name is John Beldier. I live at 1607 North Elsie Smith Road. We've lived out there now for almost 8 years. We have approximately 22 acres. And the road that, Elsie Smith Road, is very narrow, that when we drive our vehicles, we have to really slow down and get onto the edge of the road. Sometimes there's not much room there to pass people because there is no shoulder. Sometimes there's a drop off. As soon as the asphalt ends, there's a drop off. It can drop off quite deep. And so due to, if you add more people in here, in this road, in this area, then we're gonna have more congestion on the road. And so we're gonna need to have the road widened, and which is gonna cost a lot more money on your part to help with that infrastructure. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm opposing it.
All right, thank you very much.
Chair, could I
Yes.
come back up, please? Sir? Okay, you say you live at 1607 North Elsie?
Yeah,
you've got 22 acres there, correct?
Yep.
Okay, do you have houses in front of you on Elsie?
Well, my house sits back about a quarter mile off the road.
I see that. Okay, what I'm saying is the houses in front, are they individual lots in front of that property that you own, that you farm?
But your microphone, it is on?
Yeah, is it not coming
Is-
through?
I can hear him well.
Well, on my driveway, I have farmland on both sides of my driveway.
Okay, I see that. I'm looking at it online. That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying, I'm on my maps. That's what I'm trying to figure out. The lots down in front of your land, are they? Like I say, it looks like to me there's 4 houses that are in front of your land. Is that
And
correct?
they're basically 10 acre lots that are in front of, between my house and the
Oh, those are
road.
10-acre lots?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, but you said you own 22 acres. Boy, looks like you own more than 22 to me.
Sir, the houses that are on the front there, they own, if you take a look.
Ma'am, if you're going to speak, you have to be at the microphone.
Well, what she's saying is each one of those houses have 10, and they're strip areas. They're long. It's
Oh,
kind
they're
of
long. Okay, so the land that's being farmed, their land's part of that then,
They own
correct?
it, and also those houses were there prior to any of the zoning to change it from agriculture to residential agriculture. That was when I said 1996-ish, that was already, those houses were already there.
Okay, well, I was just trying to understand,
Yeah.
because they look like smaller lots, that's
Yeah,
why,
they
that's
do,
why,
but
that's why.
That's their land, they've got 10
Okay,
acre
so they
lots.
got 10 acres there. That answers my question, thank you.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? Yeah, have you been sworn in, ma'am?
I
All right, you're definitely going to need to move that microphone down.
have. Okay, I just want to set the record straight. Okay, our land lays in front of this gentleman's land, okay? The first lot's 10 acres, our lot's 7. There's 2 5-acre lots there, and then it goes on down the road. We were the first house to build in 1989 on that side of the road. The only other house that was on that side of the road that was a new house belonged to Bev and Jerry Coleman, which are still residents out there. We built out there because we love the land. We don't want to see it destroyed. We don't want to see it changed. This has been very hard for me. I lost my husband 2 weeks ago today, and if I wasn't here, he would be standing here fighting for this, because we've been there 35 years. We've seen a lot of changes. They've been good changes, but we don't need this change. This is not what we signed up for. We would prefer to keep our land zoned the way it is. Would you like someone coming in and changing your rules and regulations on your land and your house and what you could do? We don't want that. We pay our taxes just like you. That's our land. So we should have say in what goes on out there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Linda Nix. It's N-I-X. I'm at 1515 North Elsie Smith Road.
All right, anyone else that would like to speak? Go ahead and stand and come forward, please. State your name and address.
My name is Dennis Heimsaw. I live at 1507 North Elsie Smith Road. We moved out of a housing addition because we didn't want to be in one. We moved out here with our understanding when we moved in that you had to have 5 acres to build a house on, so we bought 5 acres. We do not want another housing addition. I moved out of them to get away from them. The last thing I wanted, and I know what's going to happen, as soon as this starts, there's going to be houses everywhere. So we need to stop this right now. We need to keep it at RA. It's agricultural. I'm in front of the gentleman too. All of our properties are farmed, the whole back half of them, and we don't want to lose that.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name's Pam Wrinkle. My address is 915 North Elsie Smith. We have 8 acres. We are a little ways down. We're catty corner from Judge Watkins, Susan Watkins. My husband and I was in the middle of the tornado a few years ago, and the community there, God blessed us with, and they all came out to help us. We are older. And we went by the rules that you gave us when we had to rebuild. And it was different versus the 15 years. It was hard on us, but we did what you asked. And we asked to stay like we are. We have enjoyed our life there. We're 65 and 75. And God's blessed us because that's where we chose to have our last years. And thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, last call for anyone to speak in opposition. Okay, would the applicant come forward? Oh, got one more? Okay.
My name is Rita Valdir, and I live at 1607 North Elsa Smith. As my husband stated, we did just move in back in 2017, and I came from north of the river, a small little lot that we had, and my husband has always liked property, and he found the house that he loves with the property. He just takes great pictures out there. He shares it with everyone. And this is what he signed up for. Property that he could use. And we have chickens. And if we go to another form of redistricting, zoning, that's just not what we signed up for. So we implore that we keep our zoning. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I would like the applicant to come back forward. Anything you want to reiterate or share new based on the information that, or the concerns that you just heard?
No, I mean, if anything, it strengthens it. All we want is our family to be out there together. I mean, I don't see the wrong in having our parents in the house now and us having a house right behind it. I don't understand why it's that big of a deal. I mean, I get down the road other people wanting to do it. I understand that part of it. I do, but I don't have bad intentions with doing this. I just want to have more family and everything out there with me. So,
Okay,
that's it.
thank you very much. Any further questions for the applicant from anyone?
Chair, this is for Brian.
Yes.
Hey, Brian, if he wanted to build another house on that property, could he do that? Or,
No.
I mean,
Only one home can be on an RA lot.
on an RA, you
One-
can only
yeah,
have
one
one home, but
principal
you can have
structure.
a garage and stuff like that, correct?
I beg your pardon?
You can put garages and things like that, but only have one
Yeah,
home.
also big barns and whatever you need, but
Okay.
not a living quarters.
Okay. My other question is going to be is, according to statutes, R4 and R6, they can have chickens and stuff like that, correct?
Yes, but that's more for personal use.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fine, I'm just saying personal use, I mean, so R4, they would not be able to have cattle or anything like that, correct?
I think they could have actually,
According to this, if you look at what R4 does, it does not allow for livestock.
Ma'am, if you're going to speak, you have to do it from the microphone, and I have closed the opposition, so. Staff, I'm going to let you research that, and we'll come back to it. I'd like to move forward with the hearing, and at this point, anyone who would like to speak for this case, I'd like to give you an opportunity. Anyone in the gallery would like to speak in favor? Last call. Anyone who would like to speak in favor? Okay. I do have some questions for staff. And Rick, I'm going to ask you to join us on this. Kind of goes back to my question to Brian, but could you give a little more context to R4 versus RA?
So R4, by definition, is up to 4 units per acre. R6 would be 6 units per acre. R12 would be up to 12. So in the R4 district, in this configuration, I think you had a question as could you build another house there? The answer would be no based on his configuration because he's got a 75-foot frontage. Any additional lot would have to have an additional 75-foot frontage. So there's also the constraints for, for the septic system. So you have to have a minimum of 3 acres for a septic system. And there can only be 1 septic system per structure. So given the constraints with the septic system plus the 75-foot frontage, by the configuration that he's representing, there can only be the 2 structures there. Does that help?
Okay,
Rick,
it does
that
help.
helps somewhat, but we had this thing come up here in Inglewood where they could build an place behind the building. So that's why I'm throwing this out there. So, I mean, that's a special use, and I thought they could get a special use permit to do that maybe or not. I didn't know.
So they could still have an accessory structures if that's what you're talking about.
Right. Well, but I'm just saying, like, because, I mean, that's how it was presented to us, that they can build a building back here for people to live in. That's why, I mean, I know that's up here on the square part, but I'm just saying out there, since it's 10 acres, could they put another building so a family could live in?
No, they couldn't because they would have to have a separate lot that has access to a road. And since they can't get access to the highway, they would have to get access off of Elsa Smith Road. And to answer the question about another livable structure, they would only be allowed under the zoning district of R4 to have 1 livable structure on that lot. So they couldn't, if they had like an accessory structure and they were having people live in that, that would be a violation. So.
Okay. My next question is going to be then to you, Rick. One did bring up that they had to have 5 acres to build on. I know there's people out there that the county has said you got to have 10 acres before you could only have 1 house on 10 acres. Is that per county, or is that something in the city, or
So
do you know?
the only acreage limitations would be based on your sewer ability. So in this case, the 3 acres would be the minimum for those lots because that's the minimum that DNR as well as a city allows for a septic system.
So when that person brought up 5 acres, they thought it had to be, that was not true?
I don't know. I mean, it was perhaps an older code or something may have had some kind of limitation, but that's not what our code.
Now, I'm just going to
outlines
throw this
today.
out there so they can hear this, but if they wanted to, they could form a homeowner association, make sure that nobody could break anything up into different land uses out there if they got everybody to concede with that, correct? Like a homeowner association down in Elsa Smith?
I mean, I suppose they could form an HOA of some type. They would have to record it.
Right.
And, typically with those, typically you only create one when you have common lands or common things to maintain.
But I'm just
it
saying, I'm
can't-
just
it
throwing
wouldn't
that
be
out there
something
so
that
they
we
could
could
hear
enf-
that if they wanted something like that in the future.
Yes, it wouldn't be something that the city could enforce them to
No,
do.
well,
Yeah.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
All right, before we move forward with any additional comments, I am going to go ahead and close this hearing. All right. Any additional questions that you have for staff? Anyone?
I know you closed the portion. Could I have the applicant come back up, please?
Mitch, can I have the applicant come back up after I've closed the hearing?
You can reopen that if you'd like.
All right, I will reopen the hearing for your question.
But keep
Okay.
in mind, it's for the purpose of asking the applicant questions. This is
Yeah.
not for anybody else to.
No, it's just-
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, okay, in your application, you said right here, 1 acre lot for my current house, and then the 7.5 acres would be sell off to somebody else to build or buy, whatever. 3 acres for his. Yeah, 3 acres for his, 7.5. Are you still leaning towards that aspect, or are you now changing that you'd like to keep all 10 acres, but build a house on there so your parents and people could live in?
Right, yes, I was going to sell
But-
them.
But
the
you're
land.
not planning on, sell it to them to do that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that was your, okay. That's what I was wanting to know, because that's what you put down in your application. That's what
Yes.
I wanted to make sure of it.
Yep.
Okay, that's what my question was. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I will now close the hearing again. All right. Brian, just a clarification, if I could. This request is by one homeowner for his property
That's correct.
to take it from RA to R4 to build only one other structure, sell land so that somebody can build one other structure, maybe him, maybe a family member, maybe somebody else. And there is no room to do anything beyond that.
I mean, the biggest limiting factor is the fact that there's not sewers out there. So
Okay.
you couldn't have, let's say, three or four R4 lots because there's no sewers. So but the main purpose for the rezoning is to make the minor subdivision into 2 lots possible.
Because I think it was the word subdivision that lent it to be heard that perhaps a subdivision
Yeah, I
was
know.
going to be built, and I wanted to clarify that.
That's unfortunate. You know, anytime people plat land, even a single lot or 50 acres, it's a subdivision.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know in regular parlance, we think of that as being this development or something, but
Okay.
that just means splitting the land.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Chair.
Did that raise any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner
Brian?
Nesbitt?
Brian? Hey, Rick or Brian? Another question here for you. To keep it RA, could they split the property in half and still be RA?
If we wouldn't, I don't think we'd approve the minor subdivision because it wouldn't meet our frontage requirements.
Well, wait a minute, Harry, because you're only taking 75 feet for one. I mean, I don't know. It looks like to me it's longer than 75 feet. You said you had to have 75 feet on each one.
Well, that's for the R4. So with an
Oh, RA is
RA,
different.
he has to have 250. So you'd have to have 500 total feet to be able to split it down the center and then still maintain the 4 acres or 3 acres on his lot to keep the septic system. And so that's why the configuration of kind of what looks like a bit of a flag lot there was what they proposed.
Okay, I'm just curious. I mean, I'm sure you guys went through this, but I wasn't for sure. I like to ask.
Thank you for asking. All right. Any other must-knows from anyone up on the dais? All right. Hearing none?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What I see here is a nice area out here that is RA. I mean, I like to see that we do it. And, oh, another question, I guess, for Brian and them. So you guys say that the long-term says to go ahead and split that up, where she's saying that the long-term say keep it agriculture. So why have we got a difference here?
I guess I didn't quite
So
understand what you were asking.
The 40-year plan
Okay.
says RA, but you saying it doesn't consist with the RA.
Right.
No, so you're saying that the 40-year plan does not say keep that RA agriculture out there?
I mean, the RA is a plan. We don't always,
We don't always, but I mean, according to what we brought in the 40
Right.
year, we wanted it to stay at agriculture out there. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, but you said in your report that we were not trying to keep it that out there. So that's kind of conflicting there, what you're saying.
I mean, I think our thinking was its adjacency to the C district.
Yeah, to see, I understand that, I
And
understand
it
that,
creates
yeah.
a transition zone
Right.
between
Okay.
the two different levels of
Right.
zoning.
But the way I see it is that, I mean, our agriculture, these people bought land, they want to leave it like that. I understand where they're all coming from. I understand where he's coming from. He's trying his hardest to get his family out there or something. I mean, that is really what's the big thing. I'm sorry he got into a spot where he's about 100 feet short of having enough frontage out there to make two houses. I'm sorry that's what it is, but my way I see it, I'd like to keep it happy out there, people are happy out there. I think if we, like I say, if we move ahead with R4, other people are going to do the same thing, and then we're going to change that whole subdivision out there area. So that's where my comment is on it.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, I will call for a motion. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Dan. Commissioner O'Neill.
well, this is a tough one. But I move to approve the change of zoning on case 25-100-01.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, I will call for the vote, please. Brian?
Commissioner Nesbitt,
No.
Commissioner Ferguson,
No.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
No.
Commissioner O'Neill,
No.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
No.
and Chairman Wiley.
Yes. And the vote is 5-2, and the motion fails. All right, we do not disrupt a government hearing. Thank you. All right, I'd like to move on to our second case. If I can find it. We'll get started as soon as the room is quieted down. All right. Next case on the agenda is case number 25100-04, rezoning at Evanston Park.
Yes, this is the Evanston Park rezoning. This is a city-initiated rezoning. City's the applicant, asking to rezone 13 lots from, well, actually, one lot from O1 to R6, and the remaining 12 from R30 PUD high-density residential planned unit development to R6 single-family residential. And as you can see from the vicinity map, it's right an area south of where Brookside intersects with US 24 highway in the northwest part of the city. So here's the notification map showing the lots. Two of them actually on Brookside, most of them on Winter Road or portion of Glenwood and 9th Street on the north side there. So here's the zoning map. You can see the one lot that's O1 and the rest of them that are the R30. I'm sorry. the R30 PUD. So we've got commercial on the north, C2, which is mostly undeveloped woodland area. And then we have to the south, or surrounding this neighborhood is basically a single-family neighborhood, and with some duplexes interspersed in there. But the zoning is R12, which is two-family residential. So here is the overhead view of those 13 lots. The property characteristics of this area, rezoning this, that this would conform with the surrounding land use and with the neighborhood character. Again, the area consists of 13 lots. These were houses built between 1920 and the 1960s. There don't appear to be any major historic or archaeological issues with this area. It's not in a floodplain or in a stream buffer area, being an infill area, existing built, all the utilities are in place, and there are no CIP investments planned in the vicinity. And of course, the main reason why we do these city-initiated rezonings, we had, in this particular case, we had another applicant who was rehabbing a home that found out they couldn't reconvert it back into a single-family home as it was built, and brought us to consider rezoning this entire area around it. And the reason being that this is important is that property owners and buyers may have trouble obtaining mortgages or making improvements without these rezonings. So here's some of the houses along Glenwood. The White House, actually in the right picture there, is the one who actually has the pending building permit. And then these are two houses, the one on the right and the one in the center, that are on Brookside. And then on the left, we're looking on 9th Street. And then this one is where Glenwood comes into Winter. It is was obviously a commercial building that was zoned 01 that is actually functionally now a single-family residence and been converted to be that way. So staff recommends approval of this rezoning, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Brian. All right, any questions for staff?
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Nesbitt.
Hey, Brian, why did we consider the PUD 30, the R31? Why did you not consider that one?
Consider the
Rezoning it. Does it have a multi-building on there? You would put it down here in the notes here. What address was that? 9300 East 9th Street?
That one house that you that we cut out.
Yeah.
Because we actually already did one rezoning already for Janet Thrasher, who came in here and requested.
Oh, so that 9300.
And so this is the second time this has happened in this neighborhood. So we thought maybe we should
Just fix it.
rezone this whole neighborhood.
Okay, so the 9300's already been done then? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions? All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to this case? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none. Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in favor? All right, seeing none, I'm closing the hearing.
Chair?
All right, Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve case 25-100-04.
And do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Asphalt. And I will call for a roll, a vote.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashball,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
and Chairman Wiley.
Yes. And the motion passes 7-0 in favor of case number 100-2504.
It's 25-100-04.
25-100-04. All right. Thank you. We'll move on to our next case. Staff.
So this is case 25-100-05, which is similar to the previous. It's another city-initiated rezoning, this time just dealing with 4 lots, to rezone R30 PUD high-density residential planned unit development to R6 single-family residential. This is an area, how best to describe this? Where the portion of Nolan Road that is missing a lot of the commercial that was removed a few years ago. This is about a block west of that. It's where Liberty and Main terminate there. So the notification area map here shows this end of Liberty Street. These 4 lots on the west side of the street, surrounding properties in the notification zone, most of which on the east and south are just vacant land, and then the residences to the northwest. So the north we have R6 zone properties zoned for single-family homes, or used as single-family. And then to the west, we have R6 as well, single-family homes located there. To the east is an undeveloped lot, R30 PUD, and to the south, R30 PUD, an undeveloped lot. Property characteristics of this area, as you can see from the overhead. This would conform with the surrounding use and neighborhood character, particularly on the north and west. Again, it consists of 4 lots. There's a mix of ranch and there's one split level house. And these were built, homes appear to be built mostly in the 40s and the 1970s. There's no apparent historic or archaeological issues that we know of in this area. It's not in a floodplain or a stream buffer. Of course, all the utilities are in place, and no CIP investments are intended for this area. Again, as we talked about with the earlier case, if zoning is denied, the city-initiated rezoning, the property owners and buyers may have trouble obtaining mortgages and making improvements to their properties. So we'll go through the houses here quickly. This is the one, I said split level, I guess that's actually a bi-level. There on the end, and then to the right, this is the house that was actually had a permit that prompted us to examine this neighborhood to be a candidate for city-initiated rezoning. And there's the 3rd house there on the right, and then there's the 4th house there in the area to be rezoned. So staff recommends approval of this rezoning, and ready to take any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Brian. All right, any questions for staff? All right, anyone who would like to speak in opposition of this case? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none. Anyone who would like to speak for this case? Anyone who would like to speak for? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the hearing.
Madam Chair.
Who was over here?
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes, I'd like to move for approval of case number 25-100-05, rezoning the Liberty Street.
All right, and I have a second. All right. I will call for the vote.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Chairman Wiley.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Case number 25-100-05. Rezoning. All right, that takes us to our last case for the evening, the preliminary plat. Staff?
Yes, this is case number 24-310-06, an application for approval of a preliminary plat, a subdivision, Liberty Commons, in the northeast region of Independence. It's at the southeast corner of Bunshoe Road and Jones Road. On the screen, we have a zoning area map of the subject site highlighted in blue. The subject property is give or take 60 acres in size. To the north, there is an unplatted neighborhood in a R6 zoning district, just meaning that it's not been platted into a subdivision. And to the north or northeast is an R4 subdivision. That's the Timber Creek subdivision. To the east is vacant, unimproved, largely residential agriculture land. To the south, the subdivision will extend existing infrastructure from the Rockwell Estates subdivision. And to the west is another R6 subdivision, the Farview Heights. So the majority of the surrounding site is developed or is under development still, being recently platted. Liberty Commons is comprised of 127 buildable lots ranging in size from 7,500 to 13,000 square feet. The applicant proposes a development containing a mixture of ranch style and two-story houses with owner occupants in mind, catering to families and seniors looking to downsize. Liberty Commons reserves 7.1 or so acres of land dedicated to common open space, accounting for about 24% of the total site. The applicant has integrated amenities in the open common space, featuring benches and gathering spaces, a mulched walking trail, and a children's playground. The subject property has a northeasterly aspect. The eastern border of the site is bound by a third-order stream running generally southeast. The majority of the site consists of grassland and woods, and the applicant has even proposed to preserve a large portion of trees located in the southeast region of the subject property and to restore and preserve vegetation in buffers, detention tracks, and open common space. The applicant proposes to extend an existing 12-inch water main located along 8th Street in the Rockwell Estates subdivision that will extend north and tie into a 12-inch water main on the north side of Bunshoe Road. Liberty Commons has been designed with two entrances. So Liberty Commons proposes to share a drive entrance with the Rockwell Estates subdivision on the south side. An additional entrance has been added to Bunshoe Road. And here is some sheets from the applicant's submission. So here you can see the general layout on the left of the proposed subdivision with the drive entrance existing on the southwest corner and the proposed drive entrance off of Bunshoe Road on the north. Close up of some of the proposed lots here with the street names that staff has provided with the applicants as well. And one more picture, a close-up of the preliminary plat showing a landscape plan. So a 15-foot landscape buffer is planned on the north side of the rear yards. So that buffer is required by city code, and there's an overhead utility line there the applicant has planned for that as well. Staff recommends approval of this preliminary plat with the following conditions, and I'll try and go through these quick. So half road improvements shall consist of an overlay of the east half of Jones Road and provide any necessary right-of-way for a future city-built 10-foot wide multi-use path. Traffic impact analysis of the site distance for the new entrance location shall be completed and submitted as part of final engineering. The final engineering will need to be in full compliance with any requirement provided by city staff, including but not limited to labeling flood zones on sheet C2, show benchmark and coordinates on sheet C0, submit a street light layout sheet with street plans. Grading and land disturbance permits are needed for areas larger than 1,000 square feet. There is an existing KCP&L easement called out on the plans. Easement will need to be vacated, and the applicant will need to show proposed fire hydrant locations. The applicant shall provide a stormwater master plan with detention and water quality in accordance with city code as part of final engineering. The applicant shall provide a stormwater maintenance plan for the detention and water quality facilities as requested by city code in the City of Independence Design and Construction Manual. Applicant is required to submit application for final plat in accordance with City Code 1470204. Approval of a final plat is required prior to the issuance of building permits and the assignment of addresses. Covenants and restrictions for the maintenance of open common areas, buffers, and detention tracts shall be submitted as part of the final plat and recorded with Jackson County prior to the issuance of any building permit. And lastly, this preliminary plat has not been reviewed for final engineering design. All development engineering must be designed in accordance with City of Independence standards and specifications prior to approval of the final plat. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Gabe. All right, any questions for city staff?
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner
Okay.
Nesbitt.
Well, your maps that we got did not give it justice. I think I picked up, it's at North Jones Road and Bunshoe and 8th. So that's the roads it's all bordering?
So Jones on the west, Bunshoe on the north, and then you're right, yes, 8th Street North bounds the southern border of the subject site. So
Okay, what's the eastbound boundary? Is there one?
there is a third order stream on the eastern border of the subject site.
Because because the maps we got that I just saw, I couldn't make heads or tail where this subdivision was. You saying Liberty, and I'm thinking, where's it at in Liberty? But like I say, so I think I picked it up. Okay,
Yeah.
but I think for next time, let's get a little better so we know where the roads are, because like I say, I couldn't even tell where it was at when I was looking on the paperwork here. So, and that's all I had. Thanks.
All right, any additional questions? Anyone? All right, is the applicant present? And have you been sworn in, sir? Yes. All right, just state your name and your address.
Good evening, Dan Foster with Schlegel, representing the property owner, 14920 West 107th Street, Lenexa, Kansas, and I'm representing the developer, sorry. Yeah, we agree with the staff comments, have nothing really to add, and agree to the stipulations that are in the staff report. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I'd just like to make a comment.
Sure.
I'm always, as a citizen, happy to hear when someone wants to build houses. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I concur as a real estate agent.
Can you tell me a little more about what the plan is for the average price of the home?
Yeah, so some of that was contained in the narrative. I think that was part of your staff report. If I remember correctly, the price of the home was starting in low 200s is what we said in that narrative. They are going to do it in a single phase. So basically, it's going to be do all the earthwork and everything that we need to do and then start building homes in there all in a single phase.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant?
One question here. Gabe said 750 square feet, but then I think he said 13,000, but it's supposed to be 1,300, is that correct?
No, he was referring to the lot sizes.
Oh, lot sizes, okay,
Yeah,
what size are the houses?
7,500 to 13,000.
Oh, okay, so it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other way, okay.
Yeah.
What size houses are we putting on it then?
I don't know off the top of my head what that is. I mean,
Okay.
it's whatever, would normally fit within that footprint.
Okay, well, I mean, we're looking at three-bedroom houses probably, or,
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
okay. I mean, that's when he said 13,000, it threw me, but that
No,
was
no,
correct.
no.
It was the other way that was
No,
wrong.
he was referring to lot sizes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions for our applicant here? All right, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
Chair, the application that was presented is not open to a full public hearing.
Oh, okay, thank you for reminding me of that. All right. Non-advertised, okay. All right,
So, Commissioner Nesbitt? Oh,
all right.
sorry about that.
Seeing no other questions, could I have a motion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Nesbitt.
I make a motion, we approve case 24-31006.
I second.
All right, I think I heard Jose first, so we'll do Commissioner. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All right, Gabe, would you please call for the vote?
Alrighty. Commissioner Nesbitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Yes.
Commissioner Torres?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Chair Wiley?
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Schlegel. Thank you, the developer, and look forward to 127 new homes in our fair city. All right, that is our agenda for tonight. Like to do a quick roundtable. So, like many of you, we have had some problems with mail arriving in time for us to review the cases and to visit any that we may want to, and really prepare in the way we would like to. And so, after talking to a couple of you, we could have some good alternatives of what we might try instead. I would like your permission to go ahead and make some phone calls with our liaison and a couple of other staff members. Is there anybody that would be completely heartbroken not to receive a packet in the mail?
My question's going to be, are we going to get the same information at the table?
Yes, I would make sure that we have actual information.
Okay, because I mean,
At the table.
I do look online, see what's coming up.
Yes.
But I mean, I just look at the addresses so I can
Correct.
bring them up on my phone. But like I say, the paperwork, as long as we have it here, we can study. That'd be great. I mean, I'm fine with that.
So my initial thought is that we do have access to it all online. If somebody, and I don't want anybody to print 100 pages from their personal computer. it was recommended that perhaps the city could buy us, not laptops, what do you call them? Thank you, tablets. But quite frankly, I am too fiscally conservative to have the city spend any money on providing tablets to us. So if we could use them online, but for those that want a paper copy, make sure that those are available to us when you arrive at the meeting. But the expectation would be that you would do your research and work prior to the meeting. So, yes, sir. Commissioner Young.
Would it be possible to have them available like Thursday or Friday before, like normally when they'd be mailed? That way, if I'm driving by, I want to pick mine
Yeah,
up
they
ahead of
typically
time.
are mailed on that Friday a whole week before, and it's just not making us to us. So that was another suggestion, was if Miranda's good with it, she would have copies already here, and you could just swing by. I know myself, I'm by the square many times a week. So that may be end up what we're doing if everyone's comfortable with that.
For those
But
who want to pick it
just
up.
give me an extra till the next meeting and make these phone calls and come up with a good alternative plan. We would actually be saving the city some money because they wouldn't have to spend on postage. And then we would have the information a little sooner. So, all right.
I don't mind electronic files. We just need the good access to Wi-Fi. Usually you connect to my phone, but I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if you have a public Wi-Fi or direct access so we can.
That's one of our questions too, is if you want to bring your own personal. So, okay.
So,
Gabe, you look like you're going to tell us something.
I just got word from the liaison and that the paper packet will be available on Wednesday before the meeting
Okay.
for anyone interested.
So our meeting on Tuesday, it's available on the Wednesday, the week before?
And
Yeah,
And
Okay.
it is available on the website the
Correct,
Tuesday.
a whole week before. So, all right, I will, let me just button up that information, and I will get with each of you on it. And moving forward, we will not wait for the post office to deliver us our giant packets. So, we did have another, before we move on, Commissioner Asfa, you have a question?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the time given to me. I'm with Butch. These maps are like,
necessary.
maybe when I was 20, I could see them, but I can't see them now. So will the electronic version, will it actually blow up with with a good enough resolution to see?
I use it.
experimented with it tonight on one of the maps, and I was able to bring it up to where I could actually read the dimensions on the flags.
Yeah, it actually is more helpful.
Okay, so then my second part of this question is, for those of us who have little screens, and it doesn't matter if we blow it up because we can only see, a small area, don't you guys have bigger maps? Could you bring them with you so that if we wanted to look at them, we could look at them? Or is that not acceptable? Uh-oh, Rick has to tell me.
You're referring to like being able to print something. You're referring to like being able to print something larger, like just a larger.
Well, just would you have a copy available,
yeah,
that we could have access to during the meeting?
I don't know if you print bigger maps or you just use the electronic.
We typically just use the electronic. We don't really get paper copies. I mean, we can. Typically, the largest we'll ever do is 11 by 17.
It's a little
And the only time that we'll actually print, well, first off, usually when we're getting engineering plans, those come from the consultant.
Blueprint.
We can print. We do have a printer. We only have one printer that can actually print large format. We typically would only use that if we're making copies for like the inspection staff or something. We don't really, we don't have a lot of supplies for that, so it is kind of We don't usually make a lot of copies of large format, but we do have the ability to make them bigger. But typically, it's just 11 by 17. That's what we do. Yeah, and all our reviews are pretty much electronic. So we use Bluebeam, and we can zoom in and out and make comments on plans like that. So yeah, we don't do a lot of paper anymore. So.
It is really nice on an iPad, by the way, because you can zoom in.
I know, but I'm not going to go out and buy an iPad for this.
You know what, we may not solve this in 2 weeks, but we'll figure this out.
I'll be okay.
All right.
Asking.
The second important for tonight, second important thing is the signed form that says that you have read the expectations for a commission member and will agree to them. Did anyone review them, and does anyone have any questions that needs to be relayed to Attorney Cover before signing? Or is everyone comfortable with signing your copy tonight? If you are comfortable signing and want to turn it in, this will go to the staff, to Rick. Just leave it right here. We have a few already. For those of you that want to wait, please submit any questions to me before the end of this week so that I can get those to Attorney Cover and get answers back to you, because we will need them signed and on file before the next meeting.
So, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the training, did we or did we not have training with the lawyer the last meeting? Is that the training that we're talking about?
No, the training in March and or April that we don't have a date for is literally a full day class that is required to remain in good standing as a commissioner member. And we just don't know the date yet because it's not been developed yet with Attorney Cover. So as soon as we know, we will alert everyone. All right. Does anyone else have anything else?
Yes, I have a question.
All right, Commissioner.
So are these kind of guidelines, or are they strict rules?
It is part of a regulation.
I'm probably not the best one to answer that. I do know that it is, Mitch, you might want to chime in.
Attorney Mitch, would you like to
My advice
address
is
that?
if you have any questions about this, probably put that in writing and send it to Jeremy Cover, who's the city attorney.
Yes.
He worked with the city to draft this, or his firm did, Lauer Law Firm. I had no play in any of this, so my guess is the answer is yes, these are strict rules. But again, I think you ought to send your question to Mr. Cover.
This was created from an ordinance that was passed by the city council.
That's correct.
That is correct.
So, yes, before the end of the week, if you have any questions, send them to me so that I can get them in one email to Attorney Cover. All right, anything else? All right. Thank you for attending. I've missed you, and Happy New Year. We are adjourned at 7:34.